Welcome to Logical Logistics with your host, Joe Becht. Logical Logistics is your source for news, information, and best practices for all things logistics.
This is Logical Logistics, where we cover shipping, supply chain, logistics, and everything in between. Welcome to the show. All right, welcome to the latest episode of Logical Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Becht, and today it's my honor and privilege to have Wally Devereaux from Southwest Airlines. Wally, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity.
Before we get into your position and background, I just want to say, first and foremost, that Southwest Cargo, your customer service and service in general is just outstanding, and it's just I really wanted to have you guys on and talk about the operation and talk about you. So, Wally, you're the Senior Director of Cargo and Charters, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Can we go in a little bit of your background, how you got to your position, and then what you currently do at Southwest?
Sure. I actually started with Southwest back in 1992 as a customer service agent at Love Field. So I was on the passenger side of the business, and I was actually the guy, for those that have been flying Southwest for a while, I was the guy at the gate that would hand you the plastic boarding pass so you could line up for your flight in groups of 30.
And then, was it back then were you wearing the khakis and the blue shirt every day?
That's exactly what I wore. Yeah. I wore the khakis, and I wore the blue nautical Southwest Airlines shirt.
Right.
And so it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I started back. So that was back in early 1992, and I did that for a while. I spent a little time in public relations for a while and passenger marketing for a while, and I wound up in cargo back in 1999 as the national account manager. And I did that for 7 years, and then over the years, I've had different opportunities to do some different things. So I was a senior manager, and then director of sales and marketing, and most recently here, senior director of cargo. And then the passenger charter business was added to that a couple of years ago as well. So I have some responsibility there too. So it's been a great place to work and an interesting ride along the past years.
Well, I'm sure it has. Before we get into your current position, do you have any good stories as far as your tenure and the different roles you filled at Southwest?
Oh God! Well, there was always interesting stories about things that happen at the airport.
Right.
So just, I don't know if I could give you
I understand
anything specifically, but just, working at the airport is just, I would suggest it is a wonderful way to start any airline career, would be to work at the airport, to really get a feel for what happens, because that's the product that you're offering, that airport experience of getting somebody from point A to point B. And it was quite a learning experience and quite a lesson in human behavior. That's
I'm
sure.
sure.
So it was great experience for me. I would never regret having started at the airport.
Yeah, I can imagine, or can't imagine. Well, I mean, just through my travels, you see quite a cross section of America and the world depending on what airport you're at.
And you also get to see people at their best, and you get to see people at their absolute worst.
I know.
In an airport.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
So before we go into the cargo, you mentioned the passenger charter business. Can you go a little bit into that?
Sure. Southwest Airlines has a passenger charter product that we offer, and it is primarily, or half of that business actually is related to troop movements for the U.S. military.
Okay.
Training related purposes. So, but we have a nice product that we obviously offer to the military, but we also carry quite a few college related sports teams around for basketball,
Sure.
for example, or for college football season. We move a lot of fans around. for related to those things. And then we have charters for commercial businesses and other entities. So it's a great business for us that we've been doing for over 30 years, and I've just been fortunate enough to get involved in it in the last couple of years, and we do very well with it.
Well, I'll have to keep that in mind. My oldest son plays baseball at Santa Clara University, and they fly Southwest exclusively, but they fly regular passenger. And then I have another son.
Yeah, they probably.
I'm sorry, go on. My other son's going to be going to UIC
probably
to play soccer, so it's interesting you charter for college sports teams.
Yeah, now you got to keep in mind for those charters, they make sense if you're going to put 143 people on an airplane.
Sure. Right, exactly.
If you're going to put 60 or something like that, that's probably more of a group product where you would fly in scheduled service. But if you have 143 folks that you need to fly somewhere, we're a great option.
That's great. It's really interesting. All right, so now let's get to the cargo side. When Southwest first started, you were in the secondary markets, and the airline has just grown to such proportions, and a lot of that has done through fantastic planning and also great customer service. You're just about everywhere now in the United States, correct?
That's correct. We don't have every market covered, but we certainly have very, very good coverage of the U.S. domestic market, at least in the lower 48 states. And then we also have a little bit of international coverage as well, although we don't put any cargo on those flights just yet.
Okay. So the international coverage just started in the last year or so, correct?
No, nothing cargo-wise
Right.
internationally.
Okay.
The plan will be to start that around maybe third, fourth quarter of next year. That's what we would like to see.
And then what countries are we talking there?
Well, it would just be in terms of cargo moving on Southwest Airlines aircraft, it would be limited obviously to the markets that we serve. And right now that's based in the Caribbean. Those are markets in the Caribbean and Mexico, and so there are certainly some of those markets that we have an interest in from a cargo standpoint. And I couldn't confirm anything at this point in time, but those would be the markets that we would have an interest in.
Right.
Now, as Southwest Airlines grows and adds other international destinations to the map, we will certainly look at each and every one of those as well to see if those might offer up some nice cargo opportunities too. So there's that side of it. I think the other side of it is being able to interline more efficiently and effectively than we can today. And so that would open up, certainly service to many other destinations via interline partners that we don't offer service to now either.
Okay. Now, as Senior Director of Cargo and Charters, are you the main person who's in charge of the lower 48 destinations?
Well, I have commercial responsibility for our cargo business.
Okay.
So that really involves the sales, marketing, revenue management, automation side of things, the analytical side of things. And then we have counterparts in our organization here that have the operational and customer service responsibility for our facilities and the product that we offer our customers, if that makes sense.
All right. So now with those operations and sales support, do you break that out into each individual city, or do you have regions of the lower 48 where you have individuals covering customer service for cargo?
Yes, that's right. So similar to our sales organization, where we have sales managers that handle multiple cities around the country, the same is true from a customer service standpoint, where we have cargo customer service managers that handle the customer service or have responsibility for the customer service part of the product that we offer, in the operational part in certain cities. So they have a territory of cities that they have responsibility for as well.
Okay. Now, is there any city that has more volume than others? I mean, I think it would be pretty obvious that San Francisco would have more volume than a Wichita, Kansas. But is there something out there that is really surprising as far as volume as what you see in certain airports?
Well, yeah, a lot of times it's driven, I think, by a couple things. One, obviously our flight schedule in and out of a market will dictate how much volume we have based upon the available capacity and the schedule that we offer. And then in some cases, just because you have the flights doesn't mean there's a lot of volume, and just because you don't have the flights doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of volume. And so we have markets that are smaller that do very well in terms of freight volumes, where we wish we had more flights.
Okay.
And there are markets that are very large. We have several cities where we have over 200 flights per day, for example. And in some of those cases, we don't necessarily have a ton of originating freight going through those markets. So it's based a lot on, obviously, how much freight originates in these places. And then, but we're kind of governed by our flight schedule. So we're a passenger airline, and so we make scheduling decisions based on passenger demand, and then the cargo side of the house can certainly benefit from those if we get flights in markets where there's heavy demand. So that's maybe a long way of explaining that, I hope. But,
would I be correct with what you just described? Florida is a destination with a lot of passengers, but the cargo just isn't. I mean, it's probably coming in, but it's not coming out. Is that correct?
Well, no, actually, no, that wouldn't
Okay.
necessarily be the case. Florida happens to, especially southern Florida, for example, Joe. There's a lot of demand for perishable products.
Sure.
That move out of the Miami area, and for us, obviously, that would be Fort Lauderdale. And so you have a lot of perishables that come into the United States there in Miami and are cleared, and then we move perishable business out of Fort Lauderdale. So there's pretty solid demand out of there, and believe it or not, we have nice demand out of Orlando and Tampa for other types of commodities as well. So Florida is actually a market that's pretty good cargo-wise almost the whole way around for us.
All right. Oh, great. So now that you touched on perishable products, what kind of volume and products does Southwest Cargo handle? I know you have the 737s. So is there a size restriction that you have as the amount of cargo you can handle, and what kinds of freight do you handle?
Sure. So, yeah, just in terms of, so you said it right. We're a narrow body carrier. We only fly the 737. So we have some restrictions just based on obviously the door size of the aircraft. Most of our aircraft are 737-700, so they have very good lift capabilities for freight. We have a lot of 737-800s, and then we will be retiring the remaining, some older aircraft that we have that are 300s and 500s. So we'll be almost exclusively 700s and 800s, and we will be the launch carrier for the 737 MAX, which will be, I think, the October timeframe of next year or something like that.
Okay.
But so
you said the 737 MAX?
I'm sorry?
Is that the 737 MAX you just said?
Yes.
Right, so
the 737 MAX will be the launch customer for that middle part or latter part of next year.
Oh, awesome! That's great.
Yeah, so that'll be good. But with the narrow body fleet, we do have some restrictions in terms of the size of cargo that we can take. So we will take any individual piece up to 200 pounds, and we can take, we can put 2,000 to 3,000 pounds potentially, or even more on a flight.
Okay.
But the individual piece can be no larger than 200 pounds in terms of weight, and then 90 total inches in terms of the dimensions.
Okay.
The dimensions we can be a little bit flexible on, but the weight is a firm number.
All right. Interesting.
And then and I'm sorry, just to continue on with that, Joe, you asked about commodities. So we carry a lot of perishable items. We carry a lot of retail commodities. We carry a lot of medical related commodities, diagnostics and things like that, pharmaceuticals. We carry human remains. So there's a wide variety of items that we will carry on our aircraft, and typically the one common theme is that they need to move relatively quickly, and so that's what we're good at.
Yeah, so you take just about anything up to 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, 90-inch or there around that for dimensions. And as I stated before, the customers, it's going to get there. The customer service speaks for itself. What do you guys do to set yourself apart from other competitors?
Well, I think it comes down to two things. We have absolutely fantastic people that do an excellent job moving cargo. So we in most cases with Southwest, what you'll find is that our cargo facilities are staffed by Southwest Airlines employees, and then our handling on the ramp is also staffed by Southwest Airlines employees, and they just do a fantastic job moving freight. So that's one of those advantages I think that we have, is that we have Southwest people, and our Southwest folks do a nice job. Now we have some good contracted facilities as well. We contract our cargo facilities in some of our smaller locations, and they do an excellent job too for us, and I don't want to suggest that they don't, but just working with Southwest Airlines employees on the ramp primarily and in our cargo facilities, especially our larger ones, has been a key to our success, I think, over the years. The other thing that I would suggest is that we have a operational style that's just vastly different from what our competitors offer, in that we fly a point-to-point, high-frequency type operation. And so what that does is it provides for a lot of ways to use your capacity to get something from point A to point B, and it also provides for a lot of redundancy in the event that you can't move something that on the original routing that was planned for. So even if we aren't able to move something on the first flight that's available, we will have a number of options behind that to still get something to destination in a timely fashion and still meet our customers' needs. So that's important. The other thing I would suggest operationally that's very important for us is the fact that we transfer all of our cargo just like we do our luggage. So everything moves aircraft to aircraft, or we call it tail to tail. And so it doesn't go back to a centralized cargo facility to be remanifested for a connecting flight. And so that allows us to maximize the use of our flight schedule. So great people. We have we have 38 to 3,900 flights per day with a lot of redundancy, and then we maximize the use of that schedule with tail-to-tail transfers. I think those are the key elements that help us provide a very reliable cargo service, and that's what we have become known for.
Yeah, and it obviously works. My guest today is Wally Devereaux, Senior Director, Cargo Charters from Southwest Airlines. Wally, what's the best way for a customer to reach you or reach Southwest Airlines Cargo?
Well, if I would suggest the best way is to work with our sales manager team. All of their contact information in the cities that they handle are based, or all of that information is on our website at swacargo.com. If you have general questions, you certainly can talk to our sales folks. You can talk to our cargo facility folks as well. All of that contact information on a per facility basis is also on the website.
Okay.
And then we also have a customer care center, and you can call them as well. So I would say that's maybe something that's a little unique about us too, and that's the fact that you can talk to anybody in our organization to get help. We're not going to direct you only to talk to our 800 number. You can talk to the facility. You can talk to our sales team. You can talk to me. You can talk to our customer care center. We are all here to help, and we will all help.
Boy, I'll tell you, that is unique. In today's world of emails and automated voicemails and customer service that's just relying on automation, it's just such a relief to be able that you provide people to talk to. Really is.
Yeah, it's a little old school, but you know what? It works.
No, it works.
So,
No, I firmly believe if you combine today's great new technology with just old school conversation, actually talking to a person, that's the best of both worlds.
yeah, I agree with you.
All right. So the best way to reach your team would be swacargo.com, correct?
Well, that would be the best. Yeah, if you go there, you'll be able to find information in the contact section of that for our facility, for our sales team, for our cargo customer service managers, and for our call center. So all of that contact information is there, and that would be the easiest place to start.
All right, great. Wally, I obviously the name of the podcast is Logical Logistics, and I asked this question of a lot of my guests. The word logistics is so overused, but I really want to ask you this question because in my estimation, out of all my guests so far, you actually described what logistics is. Anywhere from the charters, working with the military, to your point-to-point, tail-to-tail routing of freight. So I'm going to ask you, Wally, how would you define the term logistics?
Well, I would say in its simplest form, logistics is getting something from point A to point B, and that can be incredibly complex. But in its simplest form, it's simply getting something from here to there when it needs to be there. And so that is, I think, the simplest definition of logistics you may find. But I think that in a nutshell is what it is. Now, obviously, like I said, there's a lot of complexities that go with that, depending upon what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah, and through this interview, you describe how to get from point A to point B and the challenges and how you overcome those challenges. Once again, my guest today is Wally Devereaux, Senior Director of Cargo and Charters from Southwest Airlines. Wally, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us this week. And again, your best contact would be swacargo.com, correct?
That's correct. That's the best place to start, and we can go from there. Hey, Joe, before we finish, I did want to mention one thing. When I started as a national account manager back in 1999 for Southwest, when I first got into the cargo side of the business, one of my first sales calls was with you and I believe it was you and your brother. So one of my first sales calls was with you and the fine folks that you have at Bellair. So anyway, thanks for your business, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Well, no, thank you so much for joining us. And this is Joe Becht from Logical Logistics, your host. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you want to drop us a line, email us at becht5@comcast.net. You can leave comments, or if you want to be a guest, becht5@comcast.net. Also, make sure to review us on iTunes or other media outlets that we're located on. Special thanks goes out to Anthony B., my producer. And we'll see you next time on Logical Logistics.
Thanks for watching our video. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download us and review us on iTunes. Visit www.beslogistics.net for more logistics, transportation, and warehousing resources. Thanks for watching.